Good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everyone. Welcome to KerbSide Collections with me, Adam Ritchie, a podcast about physical media collectors for physical media collectors. Join me as I burrow into the psyche of this episode's ever collector, my boss, would I say my boss, from Rob Bouffard.
Sure, we can say that.
Welcome to the show, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, mate, the pleasure is literally all mine. That's yeah, thank you for sharing your time. It's going to be good to get to know about your collecting habits. What part
Yeah.
of the world are you from?
I'm
Can we?
from the US, currently living in Pennsylvania. So I've always lived in the US, grew up in New York, moved out here after
Okay.
college. Probably going to be here for the foreseeable future.
Were you from Manhattan or just New York City or from upstate?
People like to say upstate is anything north of New York City, but New York City is just like that bottom tiny
Yeah,
portion of
yeah.
the state. So I'm technically upstate, but only like 2 hours north of Manhattan.
Okay,
So not
gotcha.
from like what I would consider upstate, the vast rest of the large
Like
state.
not like Buffalo Way or Albany or
Right,
something.
not Buffalo, Albany, nothing like that.
Okay, cool, cool. So why do you collect physical movies? What's your attraction to them? Has it been a long-term thing for you or something you've picked up as you've gotten older or
Well, I had a modest collection when I was a teenager, modest being like it filled up two shelves on the bookcase in my bedroom. And at that point, it was just like my favorite movies. Like I had Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and, a couple other things here and there. But since I've become an adult and, gotten my own disposable income is when I started collecting much more
Hmm.
heavily. I think my collection, I haven't counted in a while because if I count, then I think I will discourage myself from continuing to buy and kind of
Oh,
realize it's a ridiculous amount to have. So I think I have north of 700 right now, a couple bookcases out in my living room. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with my collecting.
I do you so everyone does, but I asked was a lot of collecting by blind buys. Just
Sorry, Adam, you're
that
really breaking up and I can't tell what you're saying right now.
I did.
Let me run down the hall. I might have moved my router last night and that's often a
Sure. Okay, no problem. So do you still stream shows it out there? Out there? I assume you still have streaming services. I mean, do you watch streaming 50/50? Like what do you think your ratio is on how you watch your collection?
Yeah, so to answer your first question a little bit more, I kind of got into like more intense collecting be just I don't know, I think I was seeing a bunch of other people doing it on social media and thinking about how their collections and shelves looked really cool. And then on top of the idea of just owning the stuff and not having to rely as much on streaming services.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the impetus for how I became such a big time collector is
Hmm.
that like I just like how it kind of decorates my living room, to be honest. I like
Yeah.
having the movies that I love out there. And
Yeah,
like I said, I like being able to have the stuff. So as for streaming, I do stream, but new stuff. I have
mhm.
these 700 whatever movies on my shelf. So whenever I can, I'm watching my physical media. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I never seem to stop watching new stuff. And I not to give too much of a peek behind the curtain, but when we were having technical difficulties, I heard the word blind buys. Um,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
I don't do blind buys anymore, except
Okay.
for very rare occasions. Like I went to a secondhand store recently. It's primarily a bookstore. It used to have a movie section and it no longer does because they were selling all of their movies for $1. So I
Oh
bought a
wow.
bunch of movies I'd never seen that looked interesting to me for $1 each, and I was like,
Yeah,
okay, that's something I can justify spending the money on.
that's fair.
In the past, I used to have the rule being like under $10 I would do blind buy, but I just didn't want to keep, you know, racking up a bunch of movies I hadn't seen when, you know, there are other things I can spend my money on, just because, obviously you need to be prudent with how you're spending your money in life.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
so
Yes.
yeah,
It's never been more prevalent being able to just to, I mean, I'll get to that. I'll ask you a question about that a bit later on about, yeah, well, I might as well ask it now. So how do you, I
sure.
mean, you kind of answered it, but how do you strategize your buying? Like, do you, because you seem very opposite to me in that, like, I have so many movies that I've never seen before, but I buy a lot on
Mhm.
reputation. Like, actually, literally today, I watched Spartacus for the first time ever, but and I've owned the
Oh yeah.
Blu-ray of that for, I don't know how many years. And I thought, oh, I should watch this today because I had 4 hours spare, so I thought I'd
Sure.
put that on. So yeah, do you strategize around that even? Like if a movie has a good reputation that you haven't seen, or you have to have seen it and loved it first?
Spartacus is actually a fun example because that's one of the blind buys that I did in the past that
Oh,
I still haven't watched. And that's been also
right.
sitting on my shelf for about a year. And the same thing when I get 4 hours to watch a movie that I haven't seen, I'll
Mm.
watch Spartacus. I the way I
So,
strategize, like I said, I don't really do blind buys anymore just because I don't want to. Like I said,
okay.
I need to be mindful of how I'm spending my money. But I have a list on my phone just of movies I want to buy. Like it's usually whenever I watch a new movie and I'm like, all right, I don't really have a criteria for what I want to own and what I don't, but I'll just have a feeling where I'm just like, am I going to watch this again someday?
Yeah.
Otherwise, why am I really going to spend the money on it? Obviously, with 700 plus and growing movies, maybe I'm not going to get to all of them like a rewatch in the future,
This,
but
yeah. You never know. Like you retire one day and have all that spare time.
true. Yeah, hopefully. And hopefully I'll
Mm.
cross off my watch list by then, but I
Yeah.
highly doubt it.
I think you watch one and you add another two. It's
Exactly. Yeah.
just such a strange thing. You never get to the end of it. It's constantly digging a hole to get to a bottom of a watch list. Like you just never get there.
That's kind of the problem. Yeah. And so I do have the list on my phone of movies I want to buy, and I'll just throw them on there as I see them. So it's usually
Mm.
a mix of just movies from 2024 because I'm always
Hmm.
watching new movies. So I have like Longlegs,
Yeah.
Furiosa, Civil War. I haven't seen those, but then I also watched like Body Double and Hardcore recently for the first time. I'm like,
Ah,
okay, I love those movies. I need to put them on my.
I watched Body Double
Yeah.
yesterday. Yesterday.
Did you like it?
I did. I know it's a movie I think I'll love in future though, because it's one of those movies I was like, this is just it's kind of bad but kind of awesome. Like just the De
Uh,
Palma of it is awesome. I
that's how I feel about De Palma. Yeah.
yeah. De Palma's very because I'm a huge Hitchcock fan. You see so much Hitchcock in De Palma.
Right.
And I'm a big De Palma fan as well. Ever since the first Mission Impossible, I think was the first film of his I saw, and it just that blew me away. But Body Double was different. I did not like the protagonist at all. He reminded me so much of Bill Maher. I think that might have put me off. I don't know.
Okay.
He just looked like Bill Maher. I don't know why.
Sure.
But I mean, I did like it, but I know on a rewatch I will love it. And I was just looking before we started this, there's a 4K coming out of it, so I
Right.
might pick it
Yeah.
up on a sale one day. So yeah, it would be something I would buy down the track because I know I'd want to rewatch it.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm not sure where we're at with that answer. I think we kind of answered the streaming stuff, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah. I still watch streaming movies. It's just I don't have like a ratio breakdown, but
Yeah.
it's like we were
That's
saying,
fair.
it's the push and pull of always the rewatches versus like I still always
Mm.
want to watch stuff I haven't seen before, new and old.
Do you look at your letterbox stats much about your first watches and rewatches? Do you
I
pay
try not
attention
to
to
look
that?
I try not to look at them too much throughout the year just because I'm a little weird and I like to have the big surprise at the end of the year and just be like,
Mm.
wow, look at this big breakdown. It's almost like
Yeah.
spoiling it for myself if I'm constantly looking. That's
Yeah.
probably just me. So I did
No.
check though a couple weeks ago and I probably watched like 15% of the movies that I've seen in 2024 have been rewatches.
Oh wow, that's actually really low. I thought I was low on
Yeah,
my rewatches because with your own never seen before watch list, and there's I've got an equally sized rewatch list. Stuff I need to
yeah,
rewatch again. And I mean, I used to obsess over my letterbox stats, but now I don't look at them much anymore either because you just kind of get over it. And I sit around a 70% first time watch, and that's what makes my watch list keep growing because I find a director or an actor and I'm like, now I need to see all their
exactly.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's horrible. So, what in your collection? What in your collection are you most proud of owning? Like, do you have anything boldly on display for visitors to say, hey, look, this is my favorite?
I actually don't. I see pictures of other people's collections and they have like the stuff facing forward and all that, but I just have all mine lined up alphabetically with
Mm,
the spines out. Like the
yeah.
criterions are mixed in with just the regular
Ah.
Blu-rays, with just the DVDs that I have left over from before I started buying Blu-rays.
Oh,
It's
wow.
just all my movies alphabetical order. So yeah, I have some criterions. I like a lot of those. There's a couple A24 special releases that came
Mm,
out. Like that's the only way, at least in America, that you can get After Sun. which is
Okay.
one of my favorite movies. I was debating whether to say
Yeah.
one of my favorite movies of the 2020s already for sure.
Yep.
I just noticed I have After Sun and After Hours, the Criterion, back to
Oh,
back on
wow.
my shelf. So that's
Yeah,
really beautiful for
nice.
me because those are two of
That
my
is.
favorites. So yeah, I don't necessarily have like favorites that I finally got these. I try not to spend too much on single ones outside of like the occasional $35 on the, A24 special edition After Sun. But that's like
Yeah.
I bought it for myself around Christmas time and like not
That
just a random buy throughout the year.
Those A24 special releases are pretty special, actually. They box them up
Yeah.
really nicely. I mean, you kind of answered one of my questions. Out of everyone I've spoken to so far, you're the first one that just mixes. Oh, I actually know Shane does too. Shane,
Mhm.
he just doesn't matter what the format, doesn't matter what the collection, it's just all in the same shelf, where pretty much everyone else, including myself, will separate Blu-rays from 4Ks or special collections. Like most people will separate their stuff out. So it's interesting. Yeah, I don't know if it's definitely not an American thing because I've interviewed other Americans. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. Like James Bond movies, I've only
Mm.
the Craig ones. They're all just randomly placed throughout the alphabetical, like No Time
Oh,
to Die
okay.
is in the N's and Spectre's in the S. And
Yeah.
like I know people who have them all at the top at like under 007 or under the
Oh,
J's for
okay.
James Bond or something like that. But no,
I
it's just easiest for me to find them when I want to watch them.
That just gave me an idea because I just actually upgraded the Craig Bonds into the 4Ks. They actually arrived this week, and I
Oh,
was going to put
nice.
them under the Bs for Bond, but I might put them under under the 07. That's a better idea. It'll fit better on my shelf. Anyway, I kind of had a predicted answer for that question. I thought you would have had a Lord of the Rings box set that you would have been very proud of on display because I know you're a Lord of the Rings. I'll just say fan.
Yeah,
So
we're doing an audio podcast, but behind my head
yeah,
we got free
yeah,
posters right behind me. So I do have like those really nice extended edition DVD boxes that were released a while ago, like when the movies were first coming out 20 years ago.
yep.
I have those in my on my Lord of the Rings shelf where I have all the Lord of the Rings books and a couple figures. Because I ended up upgrading to the Blu-rays a couple years ago finally,
Oh,
and
yeah,
those are
yep.
the packaging for those isn't really anything special. They're just
Just
kind
a
of
box.
standard Blu-rays. Yeah.
Yeah,
So those
yeah.
are just on the shelf. But I do have like those nice looking boxes, especially placed elsewhere.
I think I saw recently there's a new set coming out, like a new presentation, but it might be in the UK, might be on a UK website that I saw that. Not sure if
They
you're aware
released
of it.
4K a couple years ago
There is
for
a
Lord of the
4K,
Rings.
but there's actually a
Yeah.
new one coming, and I was like, why are they doing
Oh, well
another
then I miss.
set of
Yeah.
this? Yeah, yeah. I might send you a link if I might hunt it down and send you a link if I
Sure.
find it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we touched on it before, but do you have any favorite labels or distributors? I know Criterion's a big one in America because you guys are spoiled for choice. I don't want to go on a Criterion rant being in Australia, but
Sure.
yeah, is there any other labels other than Criterion that you care about?
No, I really haven't gotten into any of the other ones. Like I have a couple, there's what, Shout and there's Arrow and there's maybe a few others, but like I haven't dived too deeply into them. And this might be stepping on another question you have, I'm not sure, but I don't really like buy for the highest version of a movie. Like I don't always need to
Uh,
upgrade to 4K, or like if a special edition of something is coming out, or like if they release a criterion of a movie that I already have, I don't go and buy that. I just
yeah.
kind of go for like I need to have this movie,
Mm.
and if that and I buy it in the least expensive way that I can,
Okay.
unless it's something like least expensive while still Blu-ray, by the way. I don't go for DVDs anymore.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
that's yeah, not nice cover because yeah, that's something I don't
right.
ask people often because I am a bit of a snob against DVDs, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
I'm Blu-ray or 4K for sure. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. But I guess yeah, with what you're saying that tracks that you're not I guess a label hunter with the way you shop. You're very efficient. It sounds like in the way you
Sure.
strategize.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not like I've talked to obviously plenty of other collectors and like
Mm.
you and a lot of other people at Sif Pop who get really into like, oh, I have the regular Wally Blu-ray, but Wally is
Mm.
releasing on Criterion, so I'm getting a new copy of Wally. And I'm just like,
Yeah,
no, I got Wally and I'm good. Like if I need to look up
yeah,
special features, I'll just like search online for behind the scenes or see what's uploaded to YouTube or this or that.
yeah.
Um,
That's fair.
like I understand the desire for special features and all of that. Like I'm not talking down to it or anything, but like I only have so much time and money.
Well, that's right. Well, I mean, that'll lead into another question. Like, do you care about special features much? Because I know a lot of people who, for example, 4Ks, sometimes they can't fit the special features on, so they'll actually have the 4Ks
Yeah.
for the quality, but they'll have the Blu-ray collection as well for just the special features. Is that something that you like to have and not watch, or is it something, do you watch special features often?
Well, sadly, they don't do a lot of special features these days
They,
apart
no.
from Criterion. So when a release is advertised as having, good special features, maybe that'll sway me, but really
Mm,
there's nothing like they used to do for like the Star Wars prequels or
yeah.
the Lord of the Rings movies coming out. It all seems very PR where the actors sitting down like, I was so excited to work on this movie, and it's like a
Mm,
4-minute sizzle reel instead of like actual behind the scenes that tells you about the
ye-
process of making the movie. So yeah, I don't really think too much about special features, unfortunately.
okay. Oh no, it's not unfortunate. I think it's a valid point
I wish
because
I could. Yeah.
yeah, but it's like I think you're right with the modern special features. It's like they're trying to sell you something again, but it's like, well, I've already brought it, so you don't need to keep selling it to me. Just tell me
Right.
something interesting about the making of
Yeah.
this movie. Yeah, yeah, that's fair. So what do you regret? Anything? Is there anything that you've purchased that you regret buying? Maybe something you've spent too much on, or something that you just was like, nah, I probably shouldn't own this.
No, I don't think so. Like I said, I only spend like quote unquote big money on movies that I know I've seen and loved. So like the Criterions, I
Hmm.
wait for the two
The
time a
Barnes
year
and Noble.
sales.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And and then I'll for like the A24s, like I said, which are also expensive, I'll get them around the holidays or something like that, where
Mm.
it's just like, all right, I'm treating myself because of something going on. Otherwise, it's like the one example that came to mind is a long time ago, I blind bought the movie Fury, the David
Oh
Ayer,
yeah, yeah.
Brad Pitt World War II movie. And
Hmm.
then it took me a while to finally watch it, and then I kind of hated it when I finally
Oh,
saw
did
it.
you? Wow.
But like I'd only spent like $5 or $7 on it or something like
Yeah,
that. So I'm
yeah,
like, it's if I had paid to rent it, it's only $2 less, so it's not that big of a deal, and I still have it on my shelf. So yeah, there's
yeah.
not really anything I regret.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I have quite a few that just I haven't paid much for. This like I don't know why I've got this, but it was $1, so whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And is there anything that you have that you're looking forward to being released? Anything in mind that you're waiting to come out and keen to jump on?
I think, like we said, Body Double is finally
Mm.
releasing later on. I think they announced also Scorsese's Bringing Out the Dead,
Oh, yes.
which doesn't have a physical release, or at least a Blu-ray release, I don't think.
I think it does.
Every once in a while, I'll watch a movie and be like, man, I gotta own that. And then just kind of search, title Blu-ray on Google just to see what comes up on Google Shopping.
Yep, yep.
And then I'll find out that there's nothing.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I haven't had that happen in a long time, apart from maybe Bringing Out the Dead, but I don't really keep track of that. It's normally just like, well, oh well, I can't get this, and then I just kind of move on with my day because it's not like I love collecting. Obviously, I have
Yeah.
hundreds and hundreds, but it's not like an end all be all where I have to have it. I kind of resign to like, man, if I ever want to watch this again, I'll have to rely on a streaming service or pay
Okay.
for it on iTunes or something.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it's one of those things. If it enters your radar, then it's one of those things. If you happen to come across it and it's a bargain, then yeah, you can pick it up.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that you don't stress about it because I do. I can stress about it, about stuff that I can't grab. So even stuff I don't particularly want, it's like I just need to have that. But yeah, anyway, that's
Yeah.
me. We're not interviewing me. Where are the main places you buy from? Like I know you've mentioned a couple of stores, but do you have regular websites that you browse or anywhere in particular?
It used to be a lot of Best Buy. I used to find a lot of good deals
Mm,
there, but they've gotten completely rid of their physical
yeah,
media storage, and that's horrible.
yeah, it's bananas.
So these days, if I'm buying online, it's usually eBay. I don't have
Okay.
any other online outlets because I used to do Amazon a lot, but I feel like
Mm,
they just don't offer good prices anymore.
for real. Okay.
I'll buy off of Amazon for like Dune. I think I bought Dune Part Two. I pre-ordered it. I
Hmm.
rarely pre-order to pay full price for something, but there's some like
Yeah.
Dune Part Two that I needed to have immediately. So
Yeah.
like that's when I'll use Amazon. But eBay, oftentimes I can find what I want for like $6 or less.
Really.
And I'm very happy with that result. Otherwise, if I can't find them, I'll like I've kind of exhausted the list of secondhand stores like around where I live, and there's not
Yeah.
really that many. Sometimes if I'll drive like an hour away towards family, there's like a store out by their house that I'll make sure to pop in when I'm visiting. Or like
Yeah.
I visit New York to hang out with like Foster and Shane and Rowan every once in a while. And
Mm.
there's, good stores out there with good
Amazing
prices.
stores. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I limit myself to.
Yeah, fair enough. Do you catalog your collection? I'm not sure if we've touched on this yet, but do you
No, I don't.
know?
Not at this point. Maybe someday I will. Like I said, that kind of would get a little daunting to me just to have it all laid out in front of me, just with the
Mm.
cell numbering how many how many movies I have.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
that's when I would go into a bit of existential crisis and be like, why am I buying all these movies? Instead, I can just kind of put them on the shelf and it just kind of adds to the aesthetic
Collects
of the room.
dust. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
like the aesthetic of it too. But yeah, you have a you've really made me think because it's a really good point. Because I started cataloging mine, I don't know, 2.5 years ago, and I had 300. And as soon as I cataloged them, I guess I'm like a billionaire that just wants to keep making more money. Because as soon as I cataloged them, I saw the number. I'm like, I got to get this number up, and I've just it's
Oh,
just ballooned. It's just been ridiculous. So yeah, I've got to show some better willpower. I swear to God. And I would recommend if you are going to catalog them, sooner the better because it can take a while
oh
to,
yeah.
especially with starting at 700 in your collection. Yeah. Yeah,
Right,
it can
that's
take
where it's kind of at for me, where it's already a little daunting because I have so many. And the only reason I know I have 700 is because at one point I just like went up to my shelves and just went one, two, three, counted until I
Yeah.
was done. And like I said, that was a year plus ago, and I just haven't really stopped buying. So
So
I
we'll
don't know how
say,
many I've bought since then.
I was just going to say, well, average maybe 800, maybe nine.
Those, not
Yeah.
many.
What else are we on about then? Do you, oh, well, so you've kind of already answered that. Do you care about packaging in your purchasing? Does that bother you? I mean, are you big? I'm going to assume for what we've said, you're not really big on steel books. You don't really seek out slip covers or anything like that.
So like packaging in terms of like cover art and stuff like that.
Yeah, like collector's editions, special editions. Is that something that attracts you to buying
Not
movies?
really. Maybe in 10 years, if I get a better job and have a much larger income, my answers will be
Mm.
completely different. But right now, I'm
Yeah,
all
yeah,
about efficiency and all
yeah,
about, like I still have the collector's mindset and I want to have all these movies, but it's just about like I need to have this movie because I know I'm going to want to watch it someday. Like
yeah, yeah.
so I have some steel books. I have plenty of slipcovers. But just like one of those secondhand stores by my family's house that I was talking about, I just was browsing there one day and came
Mm.
across Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse for like $7, and it was a steel book. And I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
well,
Yeah,
I don't have this yet, so if
yeah.
like $7 is what I'm willing to spend on it anyway, might as well get the cool looking steel book.
That's a
So
no-brainer. Yeah.
that's kind of the case where I would get a steel book or something special.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've only recently started buying steelbooks, but because sometimes it just the price points are pretty similar to the generic 4K, so it's just
Sure.
might as well get the steelbook, have it look pretty
Yeah.
down low on the shelf. And is there any other type of physical media that you collect? Is there anything like, I guess, music, books, anything like that?
No, not really. I am not a big music guy. Not that I don't like listening to it, but I just like I don't understand it the way I understand movies. So like
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
kind of basic in my music taste, so I don't go crazy for that. I don't have any physical music. I mean, I have some books, but like I don't read as much as I want to because I'm always watching
yeah,
movies and,
yeah. That's a very
doing chores
relatable
and living
answer.
my life. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
very relatable
Um,
answer. I've got books up here.
yeah.
No, they sit there.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Ideally, I'd read a lot more and buy a lot more books, but I don't
yeah.
have the time.
Look, I really admire your restraint in the way, and I'm really hoping I learn some lessons from you and in the way you purchase because I think I need to. I think I need to learn some of those lessons.
It's kind
Look,
of out of necessity, like I
yeah,
I want to buy more, but also just like I'm not like poor or anything like that, but like I
mm,
I only have limited income and I can only buy so much. So
no,
and yeah, yeah,
it,
I'm still happy with what I do. It's not like I'm mourning not being able to buy more or buy better. It's just like yeah, I all I really want is the movies. The movies I slide them onto my shelf, spine out anyway, so I don't really need to see the fancy
mm,
cover art. They cost extra.
Yeah.
I really just want to watch the movie for the most part at some point. So as long as I have it sitting there for whenever the need arises, I'm happy to have it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I love that approach. And again, I'm not big on the collector editions, but again, if they're there and that's the only way you can get a film, absolutely, why not?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's yeah. No, I love all those answers. That's really valid. And my brain is racing because I'm thinking, how do I live like that? Because I need to. Look, Rob, thanks very much for being on the show. I do
Of
appreciate your
course.
time. And I hope you've had some fun because I know I have. It's been very enlightening. So, is there anything, anywhere you want to send our listeners to? Anything you want to plug and promote? Oh, I
Well,
know there
plug,
is, but
sure. Like as always, I like to plug in the Writers Room podcast, which I host a review roundup of once a month. I also do a podcast called Also See with our friend Foster, where we talk about lesser known movies related to recent releases. And if people want, they could follow me on Letterboxd, just Robert's Thoughts, one word.
you used to have a YouTube channel. Do you not do YouTube anymore?
Not really, no. I realized that I had some things to say in form of YouTube videos, and I got it all out, and I didn't want to make them just for the sake of making them. It's
Okay.
just from the very limited, YouTubing that I did. It's a
Yeah.
lot of work, and you need
Yeah.
dedication. I didn't want that kind of burnout.
Yeah, fair enough. Totally understandable. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. If you have enjoyed the episode, give us a follow at KerbSide Collections on Instagram. And if you are a collector and would like to be on the show, send me a DM and I'd love to reach out and schedule you on. Until next time, thanks for listening to KerbSide Collections.